Well, I got the driver's side brake parts on, but the springs are the old springs because it didn't come with any. But there's the old adjuster, the old cylinder, the old shoes. So now I got to do the passenger side. And I'm really gonna have to clean this up a little bit. Oh my goodness. I couldn't find any brake clean, but I used a little bit of gasoline on a paintbrush and wiped most of the grease off of there. And we've got the new cylinder ready to go. Unfortunately, I have to use some of the old hardware. Got to use the old springs. And these bolts that hold the hydraulic wheel cylinder on. Got to reuse those. Well, those are the brake parts off of the passenger side. I ended up reusing the springs. I had to reuse the springs, and I removed the manual emergency brake. I might do a hydraulic line lock or a pedal lock, I'm not sure. So now I need to run a line, or a couple of lines, because the lines that were on this diff, they're pretty much euchred. There's something inside of them. They're just friggin' yuck, and yeah. So I need to I've got a flex line there that's going to allow the suspension to go up and down, and then I need to run 2 short lines to each wheel cylinder and 1 long line up to the master cylinder. Jiminy, is that you, Jiminy? How the frig you doing, bud? Oh my goodness. Anyway, I got all the new lines on. When I went to get auto parts, they recommended a Chevy Flex line, so I put the Chevy Flex line between the rear diff and the cross member and the frame. And then I ran a hard line tucked inside of the cross member. This copper nickel line here goes from the master cylinder down there. Now that all the plumbing's done, I just need to put a reservoir and fill it up with fluid, bleed it, and check all my fittings. Most of them aren't even tight right now, so I got to put the reservoir on and tighten up most of the fittings. And then the brakes, hopefully, once I get them bled, they should be good to go. Alright, so we got this friggin' clutch reservoir from a Dodge Dakota, the clutch master cylinder from a Suzuki Swift, clutch pedal from a Suzuki Swift, new copper nickel lines, and a whole bunch of new brake parts. The drums are obviously not new, previously enjoyed. Push the brake pedal, friggin' Austin. Locked right up. Ugh. Is the pedal on? No? Pusher? Yeah, brakes work friggin' right. Got the fluid all bled out. You can see the evidence. Friggin' evidence right there, boys. Friggin' rights for getting brakes working though. The pedal's good. Friggin' rights. Push it down with your foot. I want to see the action. Doesn't even go all the way, which is good. It gives you room and friggin' right. Good. Success, mission accomplished. Well, I got the drain plug removed out of the transmission there, and I got this applicator here from it's actually from a bottle of Lucas oil stabilizer, but I'm going to use the Lucas bottle and this applicator with a hose to get the gear oil in the transmission. Stick the hose down in there like that, and then I'll put the Lucas bottle, screw the Lucas bottle on here, and fill her up all the way to the top of that plug, or as much as I can get in there. She's time for some gear oil. Well, I got the gear oil in the transmission. I got the brakes all happening. I've mentioned it before, but these are actually clutch parts. Clutch pedal, clutch master cylinder, clutch reservoir. But it works really good for compact hydraulic brakes. And yeah, it works really good on this application. I'm only pushing hydraulics to the back cylinders only, to the back wheels only. And it works really good. For now, I've just got my old PT Cruiser steel wheels on there, and that's full lock. That's full lock to the clockwise, and that's full lock to the counterclockwise. And there's lots of room, lots of good room here. And that size tire is a 195/60/15. And it fits, that size tire fits really good. I might end up using that size tire all the way around. Right now I've got there's a Ford Ranger wheels on the back, and because they fit the Ford Ranger rear end, but I'm not sure about that tire size. It's a little bit of a tall tire for my motor. Alright, I'm underneath here, under the rear end, and since I got the gear oil out and I've got the hose on the gear oil jug, the gear oil bottle, I'm going to go ahead and put some in here too, make sure that the rear end is full also. Alright, the rear end is now full of gear oil. And so is the transmission. I know that that's not very exciting, but it is very important. It is very essential to make sure that the rear end and the transmission are full of fluids. Yeah. Canada, eh? Friggin' dog hair. It looks like. Well, I got the brakes functioning, brakes are working, and now I'm working on a gas pedal. Need a throttle pedal. This has a lever and a spring-loaded pad. I shortened both ends of the pedal the same as I did on the brakes. And I gotta figure out where to mount it and figure out the cable. Well, it's not pretty, but there's the gas pedal there, and the brakes are already done and working. And I had to mount the first piece of firewall, that steel plate in behind the gas pedal. I had to mount the first piece of firewall in order to properly mount the throttle pedal. So it's welded in there. I've been doing a lot of hot glue gun action. So I just glued it on there with the hot glue gun. Friggin' rights. Zero Fox, get her done. So it could have been riveted like the floor. It could have been bolted. Same with the pedal. The pedal could have been bolted. But I just used another piece of this same steel that I used for the floorboards. It's actually really good. It's actually really good steel. Pretty good stuff. This is the throttle cable. It's not hooked up yet. The gas pedal is welded here on the other side, inside of the cockpit. It'll be pretty good for an inner fender, I suppose. Keep the mud out of the inside and whatnot. This is the brake pedal. The gas pedal is not hooked up yet, but it is mounted. And I suppose I'll have to do the same thing on the passenger side. Yeah. Well, I got these inner fenders slash firewall panels slash floor panels. It's like a firewall and an inner fender. Because when you turn the wheel, you don't want the mud flinging up off the wheel up into your cabin. Oh, fuck yeah, bud. It's friggin' raining out. Rain and fire, two of the elements. Oh, fuck. Terrible. Brap. 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 Well, the gas pedal is mounted, and the throttle cable is mounted. Yeah. So now my throttle cable comes down here and there, and it's over here, and I'm gonna hook it up to there. So I had the fuel tank off, and I fed the fuel line through that little area there, and I put a little keeper on it there, so the fuel tank, the fuel line is a little bit better. And there was some leakage on the bottom of the tank because there's that fitting that screws into the bottom of the tank where the fuel line comes from, and it's made from the same cheap rubber as that ventilation tube, and the grommet, like all the rubbers were gone bad. The grommet up here was gone bad. I changed that just recently. And the hose for the fuel line, it was gone bad, and the hose from the valve cover, or the breather from the valve cover, it was really deteriorated. So I tightened up that fitting in the bottom of the tank. It seemed to have some cracks in the rubber, but I tightened it up, and the one underneath. And I topped up the fuel a little bit, so I'll have to keep an eye on it to see if it stays dry or not. Right now it seems to be okay. I'll probably end up changing most of the rubbers and lines eventually. I've already changed this one and this one. So this is the throttle here off of my gas pedal. And also I put a return spring right there to keep the throttle closed. And now I can try to tune it to idle. I might have to tune the carb. I was gonna wait for the bigger carb to come. I ordered it in the mail for like $11, which is pretty good. So I might just wait for that carb. I don't know. It's probably, I could probably drive it now if I wanted to test drive it. The throttle's on, the brakes are on, the drive line's working. I'm not done. I've still got a list of things I want to do. And got some fabric dye for the seats. I might try to make them all the same color. Got some paint for the machine itself. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. So yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Well, there might not be a whole lot of power there. But I've got quite a few gears. I've got the gear down on my drive system, plus I have the transmission. So I think if it'll go, I could probably test it now if I make some room to get it out of here. Well, I took her on a shakedown run, and she sits, the front end sits quite a bit lower than the rear end for multiple reasons. The axles aren't that high in the front, and the tires are smaller also. So it's got a bit of a dune buggy rake to it, I think. Anyway, took it out for a shakedown run, and on the way out, it seemed to be a lot of vibration in the steering wheel, and there's something slipping in the drive. So I think maybe the key shaft might have came out of the clutch. I'm not sure. I might have to check it, because on the way back it was slipping. It would drive, but going up a hill it would just rev up like almost like it was in neutral. And clearly something is slipping in the drive. So the shakedown run was it was alright, I guess. It didn't go as smooth as I had anticipated, since the transmission is slipping, or the clutch. I think it's the clutch myself, because transmission is gear drive, manual. Yeah. So I think I've about had enough for today. It will run and drive. The brakes work good. Steering is something else, because of my alignment. The alignment is out, so I need to do something about the alignment. Do something about the slipping. I think it carries itself along pretty good in first gear and second gear, aside from the slipping. So maybe if I get the slipping figured out, I could tell better, or I could do a better test. But I did take it out, and I did take her for a rip. Oh my goodness. Are you upside down? Oh my goodness. What's really going on? My buddy. And see you smile. Oh, that's a awesome smile. That's a nice smile you got there, buddy. Nice smile you got there, Buster. So that's it for today. I'll have to work some of the bugs out, and look into the clutch slipping, slitchiation. But aside from that, it's kind of a milestone just to get it out, and take her for a shakedown run, a little rip. Yeah.